This is the Gem Podcast, and this is Gav Kwok.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Gem Podcast. Today, I'm joined here by Michael Sartain. We've had him on the podcast before. I know you guys liked him, so I decided to have him on again. You know, normally I don't do sequels because they're usually very shitty, but had to make an exception. So, what's up, Mike?
I'm so flattered right now. I did not know that people liked the podcast. That makes me very happy. I liked it. I thought it was pretty funny. I remember yelling at the end of it about "you don't deserve shit." I remember that. Yeah, that was a good podcast.
No, it was great. Like, I got so much positive feedback from that. So many DMs, like, you know, saying like, you know, they listened to like 3-4 times, and then I was like, oh wow, okay, that's crazy. Because I think like really what you said, it was just very blunt to the point, and like it's stuff that, you know, people just don't normally hear.
Yeah.
Right, in like the everyday space. So
in the last 2 years, I've gotten really hardcore into the self-help space, and in doing so, one of the things that I've learned, and I've talked to you about this before, is if you want to make, what is it, Elon Musk says, you're going to be paid in direct proportion to the size of the problem you solve. So for me, it was like I saw a bunch of people in self-help not solving certain problems, and I was like, let me solve those problems, right? So leadership is like a big one, other than Jocko Willink. I don't think anybody really teaches leadership. I think a lot of people are very passive aggressive in the way that they speak. And I also saw, like we talked about before, when it comes to like there's the seduction community. For those of you who don't know that exists, there's a bunch of men who in some cases are very misogynistic. They don't have any female friends. So that was another thing I said. I was like, you guys should be able to make friends with the opposite sex. If you can't, that kind of shows that there's a hole there. There's a hole in your game. So I went after something that didn't exist. And then the other thing that I said, I remember from your podcast, there's something that I saw a lot of people in self-help doing wrong, is that it was like, here's how I'm going to help you. I'm going to make you feel good about yourself. And then when you feel good about yourself, you're going to wake up and look in the mirror and feel good about yourself and tell you how good you are, and then go back to your mom's basement. And I'm not for that. I'm going to tell you that we need to work hard. You're probably going to cry after some of the shit that I tell you. And I'm never going to call you a loser, but I am going to tell you the steps we need to take to get to where you want to get. And I'm not going to accept, like I had one client one time who told me, I go, what action steps did you take this week? He goes, I decided to focus on my fitness. I decided. And I was like, what was the action step? No, I decided to focus on what? He goes, what other action steps did you take? I decided to update my website. You decided? Hold on a second. What was the action step though? I decided to what the fuck are you talking about, man? And then so that was the situation where it was like, you don't deserve shit. You know what I'm saying? Like there is no fate, there is no destiny, there is no karma. There's actuality, probability, and plausibility, and everything else is just lazy math. So that's where I got into that. And it's so antithetical to what most self-help coaches talk about, which is, I want you to feel good about yourself. The secret, right? We're going to feel good about ourselves and we're going to manifest shit. And I'm like, no, I mean, I studied physics. There's no, the universe isn't going to manifest anything for you. You're gonna make money because you solved a problem. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. I have an issue with the whole idea of manifestation because it's solipsism, right? It's the idea that the whole world only exists for me. It's almost kind of narcissistic. Whereas for me, I look at the world and I try to teach my clients, you need to look at the world. How can you solve other people's problems to make money? Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Right? And that was the message and like I said before, the leadership message. All those messages, I thought no one was teaching those messages. I really feel like a lot of people are like, feel good about yourself. You know what I'm saying? Here's some vague instructions on how to do shit. And then here's the upsell to the next program that's $25,000. I was like, man, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be that guy. I want to be able to sleep at night. I want to be able to have relationships with my clients for 10 years, 20 years. And then in order for me to do that, I have to actually get them real results.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love your take on like this whole different side of self-help. Like obviously like I agree with like 99% of it. Mm-hmm. And obviously I was part of your program, like the Men of Action program, before it was even called that.
Yeah.
Back when it was just like, one-on-one calls.
Yeah.
And to the point of like the law of attraction and all that, like I've always been a big preacher of action as well.
Yeah.
Because nothing in your life changes. Like nothing changes if you don't take action.
Yeah.
Like, as you just said, a lot of people just like want to feel good. They just, they watch a bunch of videos. They're like, oh yeah, I'm just going to feel great. And then they feel like they've done something when they haven't done anything, And I see this all the time with like entrepreneurs, like they don't all they do is read books, which is not bad, but like you have to back it up with action.
Yeah.
But back to the point of law of attraction. Like I'm actually gonna have a counterpoint,
for sure.
To the law of attraction. It's something that I looked into like years back.
Yeah.
And I used to think it was bullshit, like the law of attraction or whatever. It's not that the law of attraction like works or doesn't work. I think of it as like a tool.
Yes.
Like if you use the law of attraction and you do things like visualization and whatever, it helps like your RAS, which is like reticular activation system, to notice opportunities, right? And I always say like, you can't just have law of attraction be whatever successful in whatever you do. You have to back that up with massive action.
Right.
Right. But if you have both, if you have the law of attraction or whatever you want to call it, like you think and visualize and, try to manifest it or whatever you want to call it. But you back that up with taking massive action towards your goal with a plan, then it can work. Because if you don't have a plan, then you don't know where you're going.
If you use the law of attraction to change your mindset, then I agree with that for sure. But my problem with that is that now we have taken all of the laws of physics and just thrown them out the fucking window because we believe the universe manifests a fucking Lamborghini for us, and it does not. Just for those of you that you may be shocked to hear this, the earth is also not flat. The universe is not going to manifest a Lamborghini for you because of the feelings that you have. It will manifest a Lamborghini for you when those feelings lead to actions, which then causes you to solve a problem, and then you get money in your account, and then you go waste money on a Lamborghini.
Exactly.
That's the way it works. So that's always been the problem that I've had. I just don't know, and you've seen this too. Like I stopped listening to people talk, and I started paying attention to people who were successful. And I don't, like for instance, I sell stock options for a living. So my side job, that's what I do for, it's my main job. I work for a small financial firm and I sell stock options. Well, one of the reasons why I do that is because one of the biggest stock option sellers in the world is Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett sells ass tons of puts on some of his positions, and that's how he makes a lot of extra cash from doing that. Well, I learned from watching successful people do things, right? Jocko Willink is a successful dude. I don't care what he did as far as a SEAL. He made it through buds. That's incredible to start with. Any Navy SEAL, that's incredible just to do that. I started paying attention to what successful people do and not what people told me was going to make me successful. Does that make sense? Because in the Men of Action program, we actually came out with this after you were in the program, the 6 guidelines. Have you heard the rules?
I haven't heard all of them, but I remember you showed me like a rough like template or a sketch of it.
Correct.
Like before, after it was over, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the guidelines, and we call them the rules. They're not rules, but they're the guidelines. And by the way, I don't get mad at you for breaking the rules, but the world does, right? The basically, the 6 guidelines were: 1, we don't listen to the words. That was always the first one. We only pay attention to people's actions. We don't. The guy who I have this one client who is constantly trying to introduce me to people in order to throw these events, and then they never get back to me, and then the events never happen. And after the 7th time, I was like, hey brother, do you realize that every time you introduce me to these people, nothing happens? Are you starting to realize this? Are you starting to realize that these people like to talk about doing things and they never do anything? So rule number 1 is we don't listen to the words. We only pay attention to people's actions. Rule number 2 is all human behavior can be explained through evolutionary psychology. All human behavior. This one is very, very controversial because if you're a behaviorist, right, you believe that, oh no, the world that you are the way you are simply because of stimulus. And I'm like, no, because if you think you have free will, make your free will make you like to eat poop. You can't. Make your free will find someone who you think is unattractive attractive. You can't. All of your preferences come from evolution. That's one of the things that I learned. And the thing about it is when you make your decisions based on that, you'll find that you almost always make the right decision, right? People make their decisions based on status, sexual selection. They make their decisions based on this, and then you stop believing in things like destiny, true love, or fucking free will, and then all of a sudden everything makes sense and you start making better decisions. Rule number 3 is abundance is almost always the answer. It's like, hey, how do I go find a new job? You know what I'm saying? You increase your skill set. How do I get better at my current job? Well, you increase your skill set. How do I get over my ex-girlfriend? You date other people. How do I get my ex-girlfriend back? You date other people. Like the answer is always abundance. You know what I'm saying? How do I get into a better physical mindset? I go to the gym more. How do I get better at lifting weights? I go to the gym more. Like the answer is always abundance. The answer is always more and better. Rule number 4 is social media is fake. And I'm okay with that. This is a big one because a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to post on social media because I feel disingenuous. No, social media is fake. and I'm okay with that. That's the thing you got to say. When Neil Armstrong was taking performance enhancing drugs when he was doing the Tour de France, if he didn't ever take those performance enhancing drugs, he was taking them because everyone else was taking them. And social media, everyone else is fake. Dude, you know how many girls are like using Face App and like, or snatching their waist or whatever? Well, the problem is if you're the one girl who isn't doing it, no one even notices you. Social media is fake. It is fake. Can we all just admit it? All the FOMO you feel from that is bullshit. A lot of these people are living fake lives. It's fine because the money's real. So social media is fake, and I'm okay with that. Rule number 5 is we don't experience FOMO. We don't talk shit about people behind their back, right? We don't jealousy. Rule number 5 is about jealousy. We fight our own jealousy, and we don't talk about people behind their back. Just because somebody inherited money and that's why they have a bunch of money, it's fine, but we don't talk bad about them. Does that make sense? There's something to learn from everyone, and we are not social media consumers. We are social media producers, right? That's what rule number 5 is. And then rule number 6, do you remember rule number 6?
I forgot.
Nobody needs to know who you're fucking. That's rule number 6. Nobody needs to know who you're fucking. Nobody needs to know how much money you make. So rule number 5 is we don't experience jealousy, and rule number 6 is we don't qualify ourselves, right? We don't need to build our status by telling people how much money we make. We go back to rule number 1. We don't listen to the words. We only pay attention to people's actions. So when you deal with people who are only action focused and like, you remember irrefutable visual evidence? Yes. For me, everything is IVE, irrefutable visual evidence. Whenever I talk to a new person, they're like, hey man, I can get you cold traffic for your business. First thing I do is, hey man, that's awesome. Let me talk to 3 of your previous clients. All of a sudden they don't call me back. They don't want to talk to me anymore. Does that make sense? Because I'm asking for irrefutable visual evidence and they can't give it to me. You see what I'm saying? So when you follow those guidelines, you end up making way better decisions. That's what I've found. That's why those 6 rules exist in the MOA program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I love those rules. And it's like, all those are like so controversial. Like if you talk to like any like person who's like not in like the space or whatever, or like just, the majority, they'll be like, oh no, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. Like, I don't believe that. That's whatever. And it's just, it's crazy that like a lot of like these, well, I don't want to like talk bad about anyone, but it's like a lot of people just have like this, I don't know if it's like a sense of entitlement, like a bad sense of entitlement where, you just think everything's going to happen for you.
Right.
Right. And without doing anything. Right. But yeah, like, with like social media, especially, like I always see like all the time, it's like, oh yeah, like I'm not gonna do social media because it's I'm
gonna take a break.
Yeah.
It's causing too much stress. It's hurting my mental health, and I'm like, that's fine for you to do that, but the reason why it's hurting your mental health is because you're a social media consumer, not a social media producer. That's the reason why. I am out there to give a message, but I don't confuse that message for me. Does that make sense? Where you get into trouble is when the guy gets cheated on by his girlfriend and then starts writing this long diatribe on Facebook about why his girlfriend cheated on her and how she's suffering from bipolar disorder. Like, no, social media isn't God. This is not the congregation at church. Social media is a fake place to post fake shit. That's what it's for. And then you make money. That's it. If you are using it for something else, you did not get the memo. Your family and friends are there to help you with your psychological problems. That's not what social media is for. People really get this confused where they think social media is real life. Social media is fake, and I'm okay with that. When you grasp that, then you can really take advantage of it. Does that make sense? And that's the other thing. Like, you and I both know dudes who like rent Lamborghinis and have fake fucking watches and then do infomercials on Facebook in order to make money. The thing is, I can't hate on them because it worked, but I'm not going to do it. I've chosen to not do that, but I can't hate on them because it worked. You understand what I'm saying? They're at Cabo and they take pictures in a JSX. JSX, they have these fucking like private looking jets and everyone acts like they're in a private jet. Right. You ever seen my things about fake rich where I was like, hey, look at this JSX jet that I did not pay for. I paid $100 to fly it and it makes me look rich. Right. Or I went to Tulum or something like that. I don't have a problem with people doing that. I'm never going to hate on people for doing that. I just choose to not behave that way. And I choose to back up every single thing I do with action. Everything I do with action. So if you were like, I'm not sure if I want to join MOA, I'd be like, well, here's 6 guys I want you to talk to first before you join. And then before you go forward, instead of talking about it, we're going to talk about my buddy Mark and the huge sales funnel he created by using Zoom calls, because I explained to him how to use Zoom in order to get people into Telegram groups and then create a funnel that way. we're going to talk to my friend Anthony, and he's going to show you how he set up all these charity events and how he set up all these photo shoots because he followed the steps that I gave him in order to get influencers to come to his parties, right? Because part of MOA is event planning, and another part of MOA is entrepreneurship. So we're going to actually introduce you to those guys. They're going to give you their testimonies, and then they're going to show you the actual physical thing they accomplished by joining the program. Does that make sense? I'm always about testimonials, and I'm always about irrefutable visual evidence. And when I do that, it's scary to other people because a lot of people are like, man, I'm not really sure if my program actually works. You and I both know it does. If you don't think it does, I'll show you 15 dudes right now who have completely changed their life because of stuff that I've taught them. At first, I didn't even believe in my program as much as some of the clients did. But after, about 85 clients and all of them saying, by the way, I've never had a refund. I've never had anybody really complain about the program. The only time I ever had people complain is like, dude, this was too hard. Because the original MOA master program is 72 hours long, and that doesn't even include some of the other calls that you have to do. And then the homework assignment. I give you homework assignments, and you can't pass the program unless you do these things that I asked you to do. And a lot of guys get really fucking frustrated and quit. And that's fine. This program wasn't for you. Just like BUDS is not for everybody in the Navy, only the guys who want to be Navy SEALs. If you want actual, you join MOA not because you want to change your life, but because you have to change your life. Does that make sense? You join MOA because you would rather fucking die than keep your life the same way. And you're willing to cry and feel super fucking uncomfortable about things, then you join the Men of Action program. If you don't feel that way, it's like, I'm not really sure if I want to do all this, then you don't. Then what happens is I get a call from you and you're like, hey man, what's the easy way for me to get these super hot girls to show up to my house? Or what's the easy way for me to get these clients to just buy what I'm doing? And I'm like, I don't know. You should talk to somebody else. I can't help you with that. I don't know how to do that. I only know how to make you a desirable man with an abundance lifestyle. That's the only thing I know how to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I bet the people listening to this are like, oh yeah, like Mike's talking about, another mentorship program or whatever. But it's like, I mean, I'm sure you guys have seen this out there, but most mentorship programs are such bullshit. Most of them are taught by people.
What if it's not bullshit? You want to feel good about yourself. The mentorship program makes you feel good about yourself. Mm-hmm. So in that case, it's not bullshit. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying it's bullshit. Right. It's just not what I'm doing.
Right. Yeah. No. I was gonna have the counterpoint. It's most of them are taught by people that haven't done anything. They're just like, oh yeah, they maybe have one good month and then they're like, okay, now I'm gonna start teaching people.
Yeah.
But the difference with yours is I was a part of it. It actually works. I remember I don't know I don't know all the details of how it's structured now. But when I was doing it, it was just it was just one-on-one calls with you, and I was just asking a bunch of questions, learning a bunch of stuff, and just taking action every week. And I remember you gave me an action plan every week, which I loved.
With the homework assignment, with the books. There was always what are the 3 books that we're doing right now?
Exactly. And I remember, I love that. Every single time I do something where it's hey, you have to take action, because I'm so biased towards that.
Yes.
That as soon as I saw that, I was like, okay, this is the shit right here. This is gonna work. And I do that even for my mentorship program that I do for Amazon.
Yeah.
And one of the only reasons why I even started an Amazon mentorship program was honestly because of you. Because I saw, the whole I saw how many I saw how people's lives were changed through a mentorship program, and I was always against it for years and years.
Yeah.
And then you were the main person that kind of convinced me to give it a shot. And then I talked to 1 or 2 other of my friends, and they're like, yeah, you could just take on a few people and see how you like it. Because I never wanted to be like that. Because I'm in entrepreneurship, and you see a bunch of fake e-commerce entrepreneurs. Exactly what he talked about with the rent a Lambo and fake watch. But these guys make millions of dollars.
They make a lot of money.
I met a few of these people in person, and that made millions and millions of dollars selling fake shit.
Yeah.
And I was just what if I could put out what if I still don't really promote it that much ever on my IG story, but I was what if I could just teach a few people how to do Amazon wholesale, how to which is what I do, how to sell on Amazon the right way instead of all this drop shipping bullshit, and then have someone create a real business on Amazon.
So that's the thing. For you, it was very apparent to me from talking to you that this was something you had subject matter expertise in, and you saw a niche where people were not fulfilling the niche, right? So let's go back to what I said originally. I had a subject matter expertise in certain things that had to do with self-help because I'm a former U.S. military officer, and because I've worked with several different businesses, and because there's a lot of different things that I've changed in my life, and I'm a good public speaker. There was a lot of things that I knew from self-help that I could help people with, niches that were not being met by other people, right? That was the first thing. So now, since I knew that, then I saw the problem, then I went after the problem. You did the same thing with the Amazon wholesale thing. You did the same thing where it's like you saw, okay, this is not being taught. All right. And I have expertise in this. And we go back to what Elon Musk says. You're going to be paid in direct proportion to the size of the problem you solve. So then you start teaching guys. And I remember when you started teaching guys, because there were a lot of guys that I knew, and I would ask them all of a sudden, because I was still doing one-on-ones with them, and I made them walk me through irrefutable visual evidence that what you were doing was working, and they had no problem explaining it to me. That's where I was really, is like Keegan. And Yaniv, I remember talking to them and them being able to explain to me step by step how this was going to work. And I was like, dude, Gav got it. Gav got it. Gav understood from my program. There is no fucking vagary. We are going to explain. Like when people come and they talk about MOA or they talk about your program, they should leave and be like, it's like, I don't know if I'm going to do this, but I absolutely understand how this can work. And so I don't feel like I'm being scammed. That's step one, right? Because, dude, as we progress forward, people are becoming more and more skeptical because most of the people they interact with are scam artists. They're buying social media followers or whatever, and they're doing these things that are very frightening when you see it. And so now you and I, like, the word entrepreneur is scary, isn't it now? The word entrepreneur is a scary word now. When I see it in a guy's profile, immediately I'm thinking, you take people's money and then you run to Tulum. That's what it looks. Whenever I hear entrepreneur, that's the first thing I think. Instead, for me, what entrepreneur meant during my dad's generation was steward of other people's investment. Other people invest in your idea, and you are a steward of that money. Now, entrepreneur means I get this original seed capital. I use it to buy social media followers, a big fucking watch, and then I go to Tulum with a bunch of girls. That's what entrepreneur means now. And so that whole thing has become scary. I asked for testimonials from your guys about your program, and all of them were able. The thing for me, it wasn't just, yeah, it was a good program. It was, here is step by step how Gav's program works. Fuck yeah, that's all I needed to hear. Now Gav not only is doing this properly, he took the lessons that I gave him about irrefutable visual evidence, and we don't listen to the words. He took those ideas and he turned it into a program that now works, and now people who want to do this type of business would definitely come to you to be able to do. And here's the other thing. You can get a hold of me. You can get a hold of Gav. My program is not that big. I still don't even have 1,000 clients yet. We're going to get there pretty quickly, but I don't have 1,000. If you call me, I'm going to respond. Like, dude, I get guys right now, like while we've been on this call, I've got a bunch of dudes on IG hitting me up like, I need help with this, and this. And I'm sure you are the same way, right? If you try to do this with, again, I'm not saying anything bad because Grant Cardone makes a lot more money than either one of us, but Grant Cardone's not going to write you back. That's my whole point. You know what I'm saying? Grant, unless you've dumped a bunch of money into his real estate investment, he's not calling you back. So that's that type of situation. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I like about your program and mine. There's a lot of corollaries to the two programs.
Yeah, exactly. Like, thank you for your kind words. Yeah. But yeah, like right now, like, you know, you have a small client base, and right now, like I don't even like want to like mass promote it or anything, because like it's I just want to like have the people who are actually serious about it like join it. Like I have a rigorous actually like application process.
Yeah.
I don't just accept anybody, because I really don't want anyone in it who's, you know, first off, like not going to take any action and invest in my program or like my mentorship program, take one-on-one calls with me, which is valuable. You know, like I value my time at like, you know, $5,000 an hour, which I've charged companies for Amazon consulting. And if I charge I charge like 4.5K for like 8 calls, which could be hours every single one. Like the ROI on my time is not there. So it's like I don't want to waste my time, my energy, and I don't want someone who goes through the program, fails, and then blames it on me. Yeah. And then they talk shit about me personally and my program. Yeah. And it's like, oh, it was all Gav's fault. I'm like, no, I really don't want that. Which is why like I even screen people. I hop on like a quick call with them before just to make sure that they're, you know, real, you know, that they have that mindset. And then I'm like, okay, we can work or not.
For me, it's those 4-hour calls I do on Mondays and the 4-hour calls I do on Thursdays. So for people who don't know, there's a Telegram group. You join the Telegram group and then you get a link. every Monday, or you get in the email group and you get a link every Monday or Thursday, and it tells you to jump on the free call. The Monday call is me with a bunch of social media influencers that come on. So it's mostly led by the ladies on Monday. And then on Thursday, it's way more technical. We go into different modes of the funnel, the entrepreneurship, the leadership, the workout schedule, the book club, all that kind of stuff that we go through in order to make you the better man. And we occasionally do have some female influencers on there, but for the most part, that is mostly like we discuss the equipment to buy. We discuss how do we do these different programs. Like, for instance, if you wanted to start a podcast, the first thing I tell you is repeatability, right? Don't be one of these people who does 3 podcasts and quit. Do something that's easy for you to do. That's why this studio right here, Sticky Paws, where we are right now, is so great, because I'm sitting down and then Travis is a master at his craft. Travis is as good as what we were saying about you with the Amazon stuff. Travis is just as good as that. So now Travis gets everything up on the RSS server. Travis has got everything up on the YouTube site. Everything looks beautiful. There's so many cameras in this room that we're in right now. I don't have to deal with this. My one thing is not doing a podcast. My one thing is teaching people. Does that make sense? Whereas this studio is made for the one thing for you to be able to do a podcast. That's why this is so great, right? We're kind of outsourcing this whole part of the whole program. So this whole thing is terrific. But like for me, those 4-hour calls I do is how I screen my guys. Right? You like if there's a bunch of guys who come on my 4-hour calls, they've been doing it for years, they're never going to buy my program just because they don't want to spend any money. And that's fine if they don't want to spend any money. And they get help. They get a ton of help too. But the main thing is they know for sure if you want to join my program, you get access to me. I'll answer your questions. And then at the end, there's no way you can think I'm a fraud. That's why we have a 0% refund rate, because everybody has at least heard me for 4 to 6 to 8 hours before they even consider jumping on the call. That's the way I do it. And for you, you said you jump on a call and you talk to for a while. Mm-hmm. I tell people no frequently because it's scary to me. The same situation with you. If you're not going to take action, bro, this is not for you. I have a lot of clients cry. I'm not ashamed to say that. I have a lot of clients break down and cry because they have some really hard things that they have to get through. Does that make sense? And I tell them it's okay to cry because I expose something. A lot of times the damage is done. Where's the damage done? Previous programs that they did. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. They got hung up in an MLM scheme. They got hung up in Forex. They got hung up in a crypto scheme. They got hung up in a PUA scheme, right? Pickup artist stuff. They got hung up in these schemes. Their belief system changed to believe that that's what the right thing was. And now I spend half my time trying to unfuck them from this previous belief system, right? And then I show them, hey, this belief system that I have, don't take my word for it. Let's go look at the irrefutable visual evidence. And then it's like their brain can't. You know that Elon Musk drinks Diet Coke, right?
Yes.
You know how many people in the self-help community, all the fucking guys, the Tim Ferriss people who believe like you have to drink mushroom tea and like you have to sit in a sauna and Diet Coke will give you cancer and all this type of shit. And then Elon Musk drinks Diet Coke. Their brain cannot comprehend that Elon Musk is successful and drinks Diet Coke at the same time. Their brains melt. And I teach guys that's not how the world works. The world works the way it works. You know what I'm saying? There's this nuance involved. A lot of binary thinking is problematic, right? I'm sure in your situation, because you guys have to source products in order for you to sell them on Amazon, you have to think outside the box in order to make that work. The binary thinking doesn't work, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Like for what I do, if anyone doesn't know, like Amazon wholesale, it's pretty much. It's probably one of the simplest business models that I've ever done or come across or whatever, and I've told you a little bit about it. But pretty much it's all you have to do with Amazon wholesale. Like everybody thinks Amazon's like some super complex beast of a thing and like or whatever, which it can be. But with Amazon wholesale, like all you really need is to create relationships with brands or distributors, and then all you need is money. Like it's as easy as it can get, like relationships. And then once you have the relationships, the only thing that holds you back from making like $1 million
is capital.
Mm-hmm. And how you get capital is, like
it's another thing you teach. It's another thing because there were guys who got financing. Like Yaniv was explaining to me how you got financing and how you explain that to him. Mm-hmm. And so that's again what we go back again. You are explaining it in a way where it isn't this vagary. Do you understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Scam artists are vague. No, man, I got the money next week. No, I'll teach you that. You know what? That's a great question, Gav. I'll teach you in the upsell for $25,000 when you buy the next program. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. And I don't do that. Like one of the anybody who's out there, go and I don't even know if you can buy it anymore. It's called Get Elevated. It's by Eben Pagan. It came out like 20 years ago, and like so much of what happened in self-help from that point came from this one program where speed of implementation and its suspension of disbelief and the powerful engagement and all these different ideas that we all use right now came from this one program by Eben Pagan. It was a long time ago it came out. And I've been using that. I've been like, dude, bootleg that. If you guys can't find it, go do get it. It's I can't remember what the name of it was called. It was I forgot what the program was, but it was a tremendous program. And I'm telling you right now, I still use some of those things because if you listen to Mark Manson or if you listen to Eckhart Tolle, you kind of figure out they have the same message. Mm-hmm. If you listen to, hey, nobody eats alone, and then you listen to Dale Carnegie, you kind of realize, wait, it's the same message. But a lot of younger people don't want to hear Dale Carnegie, and they don't want to hear Napoleon Hill because those guys are too old and they're dead. So they don't want to hear that. They want to hear the new version of the same thing. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so that's why. By the way, I will recommend this for those of you want an action plan for something to do. One of the best and at the same time most useless books I've ever read in my entire life is Tools for Titans by Tim Ferriss. I just finished it.
Yeah,
we've been talking about
this. I saw it.
Bro,
yeah.
I'm telling you, 25% of that book is the best book I've ever read in my entire life. The Jocko Willink interview, the Arnold Schwarzenegger interview, and the other 75% is fucking mushroom tea and ketones and sleeping in a fucking sauna and all this other bullshit that, like, thank you, you can keep that. I don't, like, everyone on this apparently has, like, a new personal record at deadlifting, and, like, I don't care about this. Like, again, no offense if you're a Tim Ferriss fan, but, like, and he even says you should skip through some of this book. Man, there was so much great stuff from that book that I learned, but one of the things that helped me with that book is that when you go research those people, you could see irrefutable visual evidence of their success. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So I thought that was great. The other thing that I think is great about your program, The One Thing by Gary Keller. You know, it's one of my 3 favorite books of all time. Gary Keller from Keller Williams Realty writes one of the greatest books ever written. And basically the book is, it should be called Multitasking is Bullshit. That should be the name of the book, but instead it's called The One Thing. And the whole idea is if you focus on one thing, and in your one thing is like this Amazon wholesaling, for me it's like teaching the MOA program. When you focus on this one thing, you get so good at it that's when you end up making millions and millions of dollars, right? Because you solve that problem. What was it? Even Ty Lopez said this one thing. It was like, what happens if you get good at one thing? You get $1 million. That's what happens when you get good at one thing. You know what I'm saying? So I really love that idea from it also.
Yeah, like right now, like I would say like we're like in the top. I would say in the top 1% of our fields or of our respective fields, especially with Amazon wholesale and you with the self-help content. Like pretty much like nowadays it's like there's just so much garbage out there, right? Like with self-help and with Amazon in general, where it's like, as I said before, I never wanted to do it, but it's like I kind of felt like I had an obligation because I always had people like ask. Like, oh yeah, do you have like a course? Do you have a program or something like that? And for years I was like, no, fuck that. I really don't.
I had the same question. Do you have a course? Can you teach me this? Yeah.
I bet. And then it's just like, no, I don't have a course. Nope, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, whatever. And then I was like, no, I don't want to be one of those like, millionaire, like whatever, entrepreneurs, whatever, who just sell courses, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, like nowadays, like with like social media, it's just like, if you can bring like something of value, right, to the marketplace, like that has real tangible value, it's like, and you can feel good about it because you actually do it. Like I don't think it's unethical or anything because it's like
no, it's only unethical if you lie.
Yeah,
that's it. If whatever it is, like for real, like there are people out there. Like again, when Eckhart Tolle goes out and he teaches to a bunch of people, they learn to meditate and they get rid of a lot of pain that's in their life. He's not a scam artist. He didn't teach you to make $1 million, but what he did works. So it's only unethical when you lie. Does that make sense? It's only ethical when you tell about the 12 clients that you get that went from 0 to 7 figures in 1 month. That's the problem. You understand?
Yeah.
It's unethical when you have the PUA guys who are like, oh, look at my clients. They sleep with 13 women a week because they say these 6 words. That's when it's unethical. Do you understand? That's when you start having the problems. And I see that more often than anything else because what happens is here's where the real problem happened for me. When I started seeing, so I'm into fulfillment, right? In my company, I'm not the sales guy. I'm not the entrepreneur even really. I fulfill the coaching. When I started seeing that fulfillment became sales, that's when I was like, dude, this industry is fucked. When basically you walk into a program that you just spent a bunch of money to go to, right? $150 or $10,000, whatever. And the first thing they start doing is selling you the next program when sales is now fulfillment. Like they got so tired of not getting your money. It's like, oh, we actually have to do shit? Fuck that. When they got so impatient, they were like, no, let's keep upselling them during fulfillment. I was like, dude, we're done. There's no more there's no more integrity in this community whatsoever. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like literally you walk in and from the gate, they're upselling you to another program, which goes to another program. And then eventually it's $25,000 an hour to get to talk to Tony Robbins on the phone. You understand what I'm saying? And I was like, damn, bro, that is crazy. I was like, I can't sleep at night if I don't, like, I need to, I got to answer all their questions. Dude, I did a call one time. It was on Thursday. We went 7 hours. We went from 4 to 11 p.m. We did a 7-hour call. You know why? Because I had hundreds of people on the call, and I told them at the beginning of the call, I'm answering everyone's question. I don't care how long this takes. I'm going to go the whole night. We went 7 hours. I took a 1 hour break. Luke did part of the call, and I came back on. I did another 3 hours. I was not going to leave until everyone was completely satisfied with their answer. And I got a bunch of new clients from that. You'd think, well, you gave away a bunch of free content. Well, no, that should hurt your business. It doesn't hurt your business because you know what it does in your situation, Gavin, in my situation, what it does is it lets people know they can trust you and that you are a subject matter expert, right? When you can do that, and by the way, I love having an open format because I'm not worried about hecklers. I love when people come and they're naysayers to my program. I love it when they come on the call. I go on some of these Reddit forums and I beg people to come on the call who don't believe in my program. I love it. I'm like, please come on. It's free. You can come on, talk to all the shit you want. I'd love it. And they every once in a while they do, but then they stop. They join the program. They're the ones who end up joining the program. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like what you're saying about giving free information or whatever, it's people want to see that you're not just in it for the money, right?
Yeah.
And that I've never been in helping people space or whatever you want to call it for money. I make a lot more money in my actual business,
right?
I honestly this mentoring stuff makes up for 1% of my income, maybe.
Okay.
Not even maybe 1%, and and right now I have I've only taken on 20 clients.
Yeah.
20 out of, I could have taken on 100 clients easy if I wanted to. But I had an application process and also I didn't promote it, which also probably doesn't increase the client pool. A lot of it, it's funny because a lot of your mentoring, students or, or your mentees, actually end up coming to my program just through referral.
Yeah.
And then so I actually never really have to promote if I don't want to.
Right, right. So for me, I want 1,000 people that I can help all at once. I love the idea of building a community. I like the idea. If you told me tomorrow, it's hey, Michael, you're going to have to speak extemporaneously on a subject. We're not going to tell you the subject till you get there, but you have to go 4 hours. I'd be like, fuck yes. If you told me right now, it's hey, man, Anderson Cooper just got coronavirus and you're going to have to fill in for him and we're not going to give you any notes and you got to be on CNN for the next hour, I'd be like, sure. My heart rate wouldn't even rise. I love talking. I love helping people, talking to people, and answering tough questions. I love it. Nothing in the world gets me more excited than doing that. So for me, it's a little different. I actually want to pivot everything towards this. But because I also work for a small fund and I'm a quantitative analyst for a small financial fund, I still like doing that too, which is why one of the last pillar in the MOA program is called finance. And we literally go over how stock option selling works and different types of financial fraud that you can run into and why liquidity is most important and all this kind of stuff. We put that in the program. It's a 72-hour program altogether. And from doing that, I learned a bunch of stuff also. I feel like I get better at my craft from teaching it. I wonder if you feel the same way. You've got new insight into your business from teaching other people your business.
That's very true, actually. I've had my students ask me certain questions where I'm oh yeah, because they're here's the thing. It's when I bring on new people, they're it's been a while since I've been a beginner, right? In in my craft. So they have all these new insights that they've come into while they're making cold calls or whatever to suppliers or whatever, and they're hey, what do you think of this? And I'm oh wow, I'm never thought of that. Oh, what do you think of the software that or this company, the service or whatever? And I'm I've never heard of that, but I'll take a look at it, And then sometimes I even take a look at it and then I implement it in my own business, right? And not only that, but I actually recommend anyone who's actually good at what they do to actually mentor a few people, even if you don't really want to do it, because it makes you better at the basics, at the fundamentals.
Yes.
It makes you really, because they explain it to somebody else, you have to know it so well.
So yes.
You have to explain it simply and concisely and be able to project that onto the person and make them actually understand it. Because I remember when I first started, I was just winging it. I was trying to explain I was explaining things way too
You didn't have a curriculum. You were just kind of explaining what came to your head.
Exactly.
That was my
just
problem too.
Yeah, exactly. I had no curriculum. I was okay, let's just hop on a call. I got you.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah, exactly. And then now like I have everything like more systematized. Like, okay, like, you know, first week we're going to like, you know, set up your LLC. We're going to get your resale certificate. We're going to get you all set up.
Yeah.
You have your business bank account, have your sales license, everything, so that we can actually get started. And you have everything from the get-go, like fundamentally based, right? And then we can, you know, work from there. And like, you know, we have to like, you know, have like, I don't know why you don't have, you know, a credit card. Like, you know, you need credit, and especially like if you don't have a good personal credit score, you need a good personal credit score because you need that to get good business credit.
Right.
But as soon as you get good business credit, like I'm sure you have good business credit, like as soon as you have good business credit, your personal credit score doesn't matter. But you need business credit to get, you know, a lot of these like really good suppliers, because they're gonna be like, oh yeah, like we searched up your business, it doesn't exist. Like,
Right.
You know, you don't have any credit with any, you know, suppliers right now.
Yeah.
Like, why would we work with you?
Yeah.
Right.
In the beginning, I think it's always like throwing pebbles at an aircraft carrier. You know, in the beginning, it's like, you know, the chicken or the egg. How do we break into these different things? And like that's what the mentoring is for, right? We have a thing in the U.S. military. So when I went through instructor upgrade, so I was a mission navigator, and then I got upgraded to an instructor navigator when I was a navigator on a KC-135 Stratotanker in the Air Force. And when I went through instructor upgrade, one of the things we have to do are called military pre-briefs. We call them pre-briefs. And the pre-brief is I have to explain a certain system in the aircraft. So, for instance, the fuel system or the pneumatic system or the landing gear or the hydraulic system, stuff like that. And when I did it, I remember afterwards teaching. So basically the way it is, I'm actually standing up. The instructor is sitting in the navigator chair, and I'm explaining to the instructor how this whole thing. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And it made me understand the aircraft better because I was able to explain it to them. Right. And so just like you said, I would recommend, if you're a subject matter expertise, to mentor a few people, even if it's just for free, in order for you to codify and find out where the holes in your game is. One of the things that a great thing to recognize is know what you don't know. And when you start mentoring other people, you're like, oh man, look at this blind spot. I fucking totally forgot about this, you know? And it becomes something very helpful. It's like, I have one client. He just came to me because he was like, my social life in Eastern Washington is terrible. I was like, bro, you live in Eastern Washington? What the fuck? He's like, well, I'm a nuclear engineer. I got to live near this like nuclear, you know, dam or whatever, this hydraulic dam. It sucks. It's like, okay. And then I gave him some tips, and like this guy is throwing these humongous parties in Eastern Washington. And I show my friends the pictures, and they're like, man, that looks awesome. And I was like, no, that's not awesome. That's Eastern Washington. And he's doing that. That's incredible. I have one client. He was trying to learn how to do these like networking photo shoots, and because you know networking is the main part of the MOA program, is that we teach you different ways of networking. He had 74 models confirmed for a photo shoot in Omaha, Nebraska. I will never get over this as long as I live. One of my greatest accomplishments is that I got a guy. He's a MD. He's a PhD in agriculture, and this guy. He's a PhD in agriculture. He got 74 models to come out to a photo shoot in Omaha, Nebraska, using the techniques that I taught him as far as networking. And I'm like, holy, and I show people the pictures and they're like, man, that looks like a cool photo shoot. I'm like, no, stop. That's Omaha, Nebraska, where he got that to work. So that's what the other thing that happens a lot of times, and I'm probably sure you've seen this too. You know what works for you. Then you teach your clients, and then it works for them, and you're like, holy shit, I didn't even realize it would work this well. You know what I'm saying? Do you ever have clients surprise you to the point where like they had success so much faster than you did? You're like a little bit jealous and kind of like shocked?
Yes, very much so. Like I have had, you know, I have one client in particular. You know, shout out. I've had him on my podcast before. YB.
Yeah.
I think you know him.
Yeah, Jan Ben.
Yeah, Jan Ben. Yeah, he's one of my best students probably. He was literally like broke. Like he didn't even tell me this when he joined, or I probably wouldn't even have taken him on.
Yeah.
Because I want people to have some sort of capital before joining. But he was like, yeah, I had like, you know, no dollars to my name. Mm-hmm. You know, I paid everything I had just to like join your mentorship program or whatever. And yeah, he started back last year in August, I believe. It's July now. You know, next year, 11 months. He's gone from like nothing to like now he has like $500,000 of capital.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely incredible. I'm just like, Jesus, like, damn, like that's.
I remember I was asking. Jan Ben was one of the guys that I would ask because we would do one-on-ones, and I would talk to him, and I'd be like, walk me through the process. And what I was doing was like I wanted him to be skeptical of you, because I nothing to do with you, but like I need him to be skeptical. And he wasn't, because he could explain the entire process from start to finish. So that's why he wasn't skeptical. And now he's got $500,000 in capital.
Yeah. And like he's absolutely crushing it. Like he's making like, he makes like a few $1,000s a day. Like he's making like, $60K a month profit, I believe, or even more than that. Like last time I checked, which was like weeks or a month ago or whatever. Like he's on track to like do like, he said, he told me, he's like, yeah, I want to hit like 8 figures in like revenue by like, next year or something. And I'm just like, oh, I was like, he's got to like surpass me or whatever.
He's going to surpass you and be like, hey, Gav, I want to buy your business.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to buy your business.
Yeah, no, but it's really funny. But like honestly, like doing like mentorship, and I'm sure you found this as well, is like it's one of like the most fulfilling, like rewarding experiences I've ever done. And I didn't know it would be like that. Like I thought it was just like, oh, like anyone who does it is just like, whatever, just scamming people or whatever. Like it's not real.
No, here's what happens. Here's what happens.
Yeah.
You do this and it's fulfilling. And then one day you meet a sales guy and he comes to you and he's like, hey man, did you know these 6 things that you could do to make more money? And they sound really good. And then one day he takes over your email list and he starts copywriting for you. He starts writing sales copy for you. And the sales copy starts saying shit and you're like, I never told you this. What are you talking about? He starts promising the moon to these people. Do you understand what I'm saying? And like you have your one example with Jan Bin that took 11 months, and he starts talking about 30 days, 60 days, and then he starts talking about 7 figures, 8 figures, and it's almost like the 10x rule. He's taking your accomplishments and he's 10xing them when he tries to sell it to other people. And then next thing you know, you're selling, but like your sales numbers go up and you're like, okay, I'll let him get away with it. Next thing you know, it's your whole business. Your whole business is like over promising these dudes things that you can't even. And then when it gets really bad is like when your guys like, stop teaching these guys how to do all this stuff, or else they're going to leave your program with all this money. You need to just upsell them to the next program and the next program. And that's what happens. But honestly, it just becomes so easy. It becomes so comfortable. It's a great book I just finished. One of the best books I've read in the last decade. It's called Conquering the Sociopath Next Door by Dr. Martha Stout. And one of the last chapters, she starts talking about how entities are entities that can act in a sociopathic manner, even though there are no sociopaths that run the company, because the company is only concerned with profit. And that's essentially what starts happening here. It's like it just becomes easier to flip this switch and make more money and then not consider the consequences about the people that you're selling this product to, right? And then the thing is, you and I have a business because of so many people who have unfulfilled programs. Like I know somebody right now is like, dude sold like 9 boot camps and like didn't fulfill any of them. And it's like the guys are just sitting there just screwed because they paid this massive deposit and you don't know what to do. You just don't know how to, you want to help them, but you don't exactly know what to do. And you're getting pulled in 2 directions for where the profit motive is over here, but this other side is about you helping people, and it just becomes difficult. I know I need to sleep at night. And there's a certain amount of money. Like I'm not going to take there's no amount of money I'm going to take where I can't sleep at night. And in order for me to sleep at night, I can't have messages from people being like, hey man, your product didn't help me at all. I can't, bro, I would not be able to sleep for days if I ever got that message. Right. So that's just me.
Yeah. Like right now, like I'm in a position where I have access to so many like business investments or opportunities, and I get hit up all the time. Like, oh yeah, let's do this, let's do that. But like, as soon as I like realize like, or like I find out like it's unethical, or like especially I bet you've heard of all like these crypto shit coins or whatever. I'm sure you've heard of it, where people are making like millions and millions of dollars just literally launching a crypto coin, like a shit coin that has no utility or whatever. They say it's for charity or whatever. They make like millions of dollars, and then they just dump it all on everybody who bought into it, and then they cash out a few mil, and like these kids are like younger than me, and I'm like, wow, if I had no, like I get hit up for these opportunities all the time actually, and it's just like, wow, if I had no ethics or morals, I could literally make like 10-20 mil in like a few months.
And it's the new pump and dumps. We used to do that. Again, if you watch the Wolf of Wall Street, those are pink slip, those are penny stock pump and dumps that they were doing. They're below, the price of the stock is below the limit to which they can, where the FTC has to regulate them, or they're regulated in a different way. And on top of that, they cannot have stock options because they're below $5 a share. And so these pink slips, or these pump and dump schemes that were coming through these penny stocks. Now what's happened is the penny stock thing is not the cool fad anymore. Now you're not trying to get the whatever. I mean, there's a True Religion is probably the only company that ever went through penny stocks, went IPO, and then actually turned into a real business. Steve Madden did also. Those are the only 2 really that did that. And then but what happens is with the penny stocks is we took that that mindset, and now we've moved it to cryptocurrency, because now it's the new unregulated thing, but it's even faster, and there's less liquidity and there's less regulation, and nobody from the government can tell you what you can and cannot buy. And so now it becomes this issue where, like you said, with the shit coin, all this kind of stuff that's happening, it's really crazy. I know so many people that bought into crypto at like 40, it went up to 60, bro, and they were bragging to their family, like, mom and dad, you see what I did? Look at all this money I made. I'm going to retire. Fuck you, mom and dad. I'm not going to get a real job. And then it went down to 33, and they're just like waiting, sweating, bro, just stressed out. They don't go to the clubs anymore. They're so stressed out. All of a sudden, they're like asking for a refund from the crypto product that they got that was telling them how to do technical analysis and all this kind of shit. And it's really funny. All those crypto products just went away, real quick. Here's anybody's listening to this. No one can tell you which way any equity is going to go. Ready? I just pissed a lot of people off by saying that, but let me tell you something. Anyone who tells you that they know which way the stock market's going to go, Amazon, Facebook, Apple, Google, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, whatever. Anyone who tells you, hey, look for these signs and then it's going to dip, look for these signs and then it's going to rise. Anyone who tells you that is either confused or a liar. Their science is done. We've done thousands of surveys on this. It is very clear. There is no way technical analysis can predict. You cannot look at charts and predict price movement. You cannot. Anyone who tells you that they're doing that is a liar or confused, and anyone who sells you a product to do that is doing so in an unethical manner. Period. Anyone who wants to argue with me about this, you're not going to argue with me. I'm going to send you to survey after survey after survey after study after scientific study that proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that markets are random and you cannot predict direction. But people still buy it. People will still buy that stuff. And I remember I have a buddy of mine who's like, hey man, do you want to sell a financial product where we kind of give these ideas on how to make money? And I was like, I will sell a financial product where I'll teach them the math, but I'm not going to sell a financial product guaranteeing them a certain amount of money. And that's a problem, man. That's an ethical issue,
Yeah, like, I mean, back to like just expectations. It's like, like there's people that like sell like, all this shit, and it's just like, oh, you're going to make like 10K a day, you're trading, and as long as you learn these technical analysis charts, just look at volume and stuff like that. But it's just like, no, like
there's no math behind it. There is no math behind looking at volume or open interest in order to pick direction. There is no math. There is not a single scientific study that has ever been done that is in favor of technical analysis. In fact, Jacob Perlman, he's this quantitative analyst that I listen to all the time. He came up. He said one of the best things I've ever heard. He's like, technical analysis is so useless that it's okay if you do it, because it's so useless that it doesn't hurt you either. It's literally like using technical analysis to figure out a coin flip. It's like, paying for technical analysis is ridiculous. But like those Bloomberg terminals that have like level 3 and level 4 access, whatever the fuck that is, those things are so useless that they don't hurt you either. And so people just continue to spend money on those things, even though the science is clear. It is not the science. It's not like, other things where there's a consensus. The science is 100% black and white. Technical analysis does not work. Period. And yet people still spend millions of dollars every year buying these programs.
Yeah, like I know so many it's like the whole like Forex.
Forex is another
Forex Gurus.
Hey, listen, everybody out there, if there's a program where they'll allow you to lay down, like you don't even have to open a brokerage account. You lay down a credit card and then they give you 20-to-1 leverage, get ready. Because if you don't know who the sucker in the room is, it's you. If you think about it, just like ask yourself, this is what I'm talking about before, about thinking from other people's perspective. If someone's willing to let you put a credit card down so that you can now become a professional trader and get 20-to-1 leverage, understand, they are not there to lose money. They are there to take your money, and they will take your money, and you will be owing a shit ton of money. I know hundreds of Forex traders. I know one of them who still tells me that he makes money from it, but just one. And it's because he stays super small, and he only trades like less than 1% in any individual transaction. Every other Forex trader I know is just furious at this whole situation. Yeah.
Yeah, like not even like 20x. Like I've seen people like do like 100x, 125x.
Ask yourself why you and I are not like, okay, yes, I trade for a living, so it's a little different with me, but you and I are just normal people, right? Why the fuck would anyone give us 100x leverage? Ask yourself the question. Why? Dude, let me tell you something, guys. If a girl walks up to you in a bar and she's ready to go home with you immediately without even talking to you, there's a problem there. Maybe you're not the one who sees it. Maybe it seems like it's too good to be true. That's probably because it is too good to be true, okay? Take a look for the Adam's apple. That's all I'm saying. So, but like, here's the situation here. If you are going to, someone's like, hey, come check out my Forex product. Just put down your credit card and you get 100x leverage. Ask yourself a question. Is this too good to be true? And then find all the other Forex traders and then find out how they had to sell their house. Do not get, I'm going to tell you once again, Forex is not a good idea. There's a reason why, because you can't predict which way these currencies are going to go. And you can't predict all these other things you can't predict. That's why I sell stock options, because I like the high rate of return. If I sell a stock option that's a 20 delta stock option, that means I have an 80 delta, I have an 80% chance of making money off that stock option. That's all it means, right? It doesn't mean I'm going to make money, but it means that there's an 80% chance on this particular trade I'm going to be profitable. I could also lose 20% of those trades, but I can lose more than I would win, and then those things will end up balancing out. But what we found is over time it's essentially not how it works, because people use stock options in order to hedge off risk, and so they're willing to pay a premium for that, and I'm the one who receives the premium, just like an insurance company. Selling stock options is the equivalent to being an insurance company. That's the reason why I do it, or the equivalent to being the house playing blackjack, being the dealer as opposed to being the guy playing blackjack. That's why I sell stock options.
Yeah, it's just like winning more than losing, right? It's just which is why if you do something like trading, and you have an effective strategy like your strategy, right? It's always good to have risk management.
Yes.
Right? And not just risk management with trading, but risk management with everything.
Well, I mean, I'm sure in your case, you probably have a certain amount that you'll put of your capital towards one type of inventory or something like that. And I hear sports bettors do the same thing. They're like a certain number of units that they put on a specific bet or something like that. For me, I don't go above 30% of my account. The rest of it stays there for buying power. So I use 30% of my account. There have been times where I've gone up to 50 and it always ends up biting me. So I stay around 30, and then if volatility is low, I'll use maybe 25% of my account.
Right. It's just the most important thing is to have liquidity, because you can't come back from zero, right?
Yes.
And one of the most important concepts, I teach is, just a general business concept. If you lose half your money on anything, you have to make 100% back.
Yes. You don't have to make 50% back. You have to make 100% back. Correct.
And nobody understands that. Everyone's like, oh, yeah, if I lose 50%, I just have to make 50% on the next one. No,
that's not how it works.
Exactly. It's just and which is why you see the richest people, who are self-made, they always want to minimize their risk.
Yes.
They don't care about making fancy 1,000% returns or whatever. They just care about I just want to make 10%. I just want to make 15%.
As Charles Barkley said, you only need to get rich once. You only need to make $50 million one time to be rich. You know what I'm saying? That's the thing. But that also is the reason why, going back to the profit margin, why there's so much unethical behavior with corporations, because they're I could end up doing this super unethical thing, and then I get a golden parachute for $50 million. That's $50 million. You can talk shit about me for a little while, maybe write some articles about me, but I got $50 million. Bro, that's real. You and I, we don't have this decision to make every day. But could you imagine being in that situation and at $50 million? I have an analogy that is so way off the charts, but it's kind of a similar analogy. I had a friend of mine. She was filming on OnlyFans with her husband, and she was making several $100,000 a month filming with her husband on OnlyFans. Her husband dies, and now she's asked to put she's in this really weird situation where she has to keep making content, but her husband's dead. Could you imagine being put in a fucking horrible situation like that? Well, now it's the situation where you're in a situation where you're the CEO of some company, and you know that if you just do let's go ahead and buy back some of these stocks. Let's raise the stock price so I can vest some of these options and just completely fuck over the company. You know what I'm saying? We're not going to raise anything. And now you're put in this horrible situation where if you do this, you get $50 million, even if you get fired. And now you're just screwed. And now you see all these people acting in these horrible interests. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing that sucks. Yeah, but I see it all the time. I see people get a VIP host here who get put into situations like in Las Vegas where it's just this quick money, but you end up going to jail if you end up fucking this thing up. But man, it's so much money. Or people in situations like we talked about before with MLMs or cryptocurrency or something like that. It's well, if I sell this product, I can make a lot of people a lot of money. But then dude, there was one guy, I think we both know who he is, where he was selling a product, and then in the product, he promised all these other people that were going to be instructors in the product, but he didn't contact any of them beforehand. And then when people started contacting them, what the fuck are you talking about? And he had already spent the money, and he couldn't replace the money, and he had to shut down his social media and all this kind of stuff. This is what I'm talking about. Money will make people make this really tough decision, because in your mind you're man, $2 million, that's going to change somebody's life forever. You see what I'm saying? And so you get put into these tough situations. I'm happy in the fact that I know how to make money, so that if it was a $2 million decision or even a $10 million decision, I could at least say no if it didn't fit with my ethics. But I also recognize that some people can't.
Yeah, like
I also recognize some people can't.
Yeah, like some people are like in such a bad like place maybe financially that they're like, I don't care what I do, like as long as I make money.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and it gets into like that borderline like maybe gray zone of like, you know, it's like, is it right for them to do it? You know, probably not, even if they have like, you know, a kid to feed or whatever, but you can still understand, I guess, like the perspective of why they did it, right? Not to say it's right.
Yeah. I mean, but the unethical stuff is what I have a problem with. The other part is like we were talking about before, like girls on OnlyFans. How many girls on OnlyFans now are just like, oh my God, I would never take a nude photo. And now they're having sex with dudes on their OnlyFans and they're making 30, 40,000 a month, 100,000 a month. And now that's not an ethical decision. But anybody who wants to have sex on camera, they're fully allowed to do that. It's none of my business. But the thing is, like, you see how money will change people, right? We see it in two cases: when we deal with the corporate culture, when we deal with, like, you know, Instagram. We see how money will change people, and it's a scary thing. And that's one of the things that, like, I really like try to teach to my guys is this level of integrity. Can you sleep at night? Can you sleep at night? Do you have a long-term plan here? Are you, because for me, I think with my clients, I can keep my clients for 10, 15 years because I don't lie to them. I always tell them the truth. And so is that the long-term thinking versus the short-term thinking? Is that what you've chosen to do? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Like, you know, you want your clients to like, not even just so that they like talk good about you, but, you know, just like having that, like, by like providing as much value as you can to your clients, like it just like, you just get such a better reputation, right? And your reputation at the day is everything. At the end of the day, it's literally everything. Like if you have a bad reputation, I didn't say you can ever come back from a bad reputation. Yeah. Like it's almost impossible.
Well, I've seen people. I mean, Jordan Belfort came back from a bad reputation. I mean, it can happen, but like, here's the thing, right?
I mean,
what was it? But consider this situation. Bernie Madoff gets out of jail. I would not do this, but Bernie Madoff gets out of jail and he's like, you know what? I'm going to sell a sales program. I'm going to have I'm going to have a sales program on how to get people to invest in your product. Do you know how many motherfuckers you and I know would buy that product? Bernie Madoff, who ended up with billions of dollars. And I would never do it. But like, people want to make that money. You know what I'm saying? And they're willing to like listen to somebody who's unethical in order to do it. You understand? Jordan Belfort went to federal prison for what he did. And yet people are like handing him money, hand over fist, for him to teach them sales techniques. Because he knows he's a really good salesman. So it's, again, this is what I'm going to go back to this one more time: money or ethics, right? Where do you stand? It's a very difficult decision for a lot of people. There's a lot of people right now listening to this show, and they're like, I am an ethical person, and then they're like, I just need $10 million, and they're like, I will do fucking anything to get that $10 million, right? And so the problem is, it's hard for us to judge, because I know right now, if I had no money tomorrow, just something happened, all my money went away, I know 6 different things I could do to make money. Like right off the bat, which, by the way, that knowledge to me is more important than the money, right? That knowledge to get back up and like figure out a way to get that money back, that's more important than the money. So a lot of these people don't have that. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these people don't. They got inherited some money, blew the inheritance, all this kind of stuff, and then you just see them in a kind of a shitty situation. So it's really tough to do, and then they don't want to do the work because they've grown up with no ethic. You know what I'm saying? So that part is also very difficult.
Yeah, like knowledge at the end of the day is like everything. It's like you want to get your money in a way where if you went back down to zero, you could get back to where you were like within a year or 2 years or whatever. Like you don't want to like have that one-off lucky like lottery type of thing where, you know, just by sheer luck, you know, like you end up making or become successful. Like there's a quote that, you know, I read recently in a book where it was like, you know, in, you know, 1,000 parallel universes, you want to be rich in 999 of them, right? And you just want to take luck out of the equation, right? And there's like, you know, different kinds of luck. Like there's blind luck. There's like luck that you get just from creating a lot of motion and action and movement. Just like you create luck just through you just doing stuff, like through opportunity.
Well,
right?
luck through action.
Luck
right?
through action.
I mean, that would be the point of this whole podcast, right? Is that it's the luck that we create through the action that we take. And going back to, again, what Elon said, you are going to be paid in direct proportion to the size of the problem you solve. Are there other ways to get lucky? Yes. Your last name can be a certain last name and you can just be rich, right? But that's one way to do it. Or you can just be talented in one particular thing or another. Like Justin Timberlake is rich, but he's not rich because he's an entrepreneur. He might be now, but I mean, initially that's not how he became rich. The same thing with LeBron James. They're both entrepreneurs, but originally they're rich because they had a skill set and they were able to exploit that skill set. But in other situations for us, we have to find problems to solve. And one of the things that happened, you ever meet the guy who owns the nightclub? He opens the nightclub that he always wanted to go to, or the restaurant that he always wanted to go to, and then it fails. That's the thing, man. One of the wealthiest dudes I knew in Dallas, he opened like this Tejano bar in like Northwest Dallas, and they were selling like dollar beers, and it was just like all the music was this Spanish music, and he's like, I would never go to this place in a million years. I make so much money off that. This is like the highest generating revenue bar in the whole state of Texas, and it's just this Tejano bar that's just filled to capacity with dudes in like cowboy hats, listening to Tejano music or whatever. And it was like, I do this because I want to make money. This is not my nightclub. I'm solving someone else's problem. You see what I'm saying? And so that was the situation for me. It was just like, I see so many unfulfilled people in the self-help community. It's like, what are we missing? You know, where is the part that we're screwing up? And I was like, let me just attack those points where other people's are missing. And you know what? I'm shocked by how many people give me good reviews. I mean, that's why I'm on this podcast with you, and how many people like the idea of the fact that we're giving people, you know, the main thing I coach against is passive-aggressive communication. Can't stand passive-aggressive communication. Hey, man, you said this thing about me the other day, and I just want to let you know it bothered me a little bit, so I want to confront you about it so we can talk this out and then have this. You know how few people do this, Gav? You know how few people will have that conversation that we just had right there? You know how often it's like, man, Gav, man, he acts so fucking arrogant. Fuck that dude. But don't tell Gav I said anything. Don't tell Gav I said anything. Now, look what I've done. I'm passive-aggressive, and I've told this other guy, hey, don't say anything to Gav. Now he's passive-aggressive. Passive-aggressive behavior now becomes like a disease. It's a virus that spreads, and it usually spreads to people that are afraid from confrontation. That's why I teach my clients. When you avoid confrontation, you create conflict. When you avoid confrontation, you create conflict. Those difficult discussions you have, you want to have them early, and you want to give them a long time to just get everybody to get everything out, and you want to have them with as little emotion as possible. The passive-aggressive behavior is 99% of the problems that I have in my life. It's people who like believe a rumor or don't like something that I did and will not confront me about that thing. And it's generally because their passive-aggressive behavior is based in jealousy or a misunderstanding. And so think about this when you talk about somebody who teaches an MLM product or teaches a technical analysis product or even like a pickup product. How often are they like, hey, don't be passive aggressive? I've never heard it. I've never heard it one time. Direct communication. I've never heard it. The only person I hear talk about this, the only person is either Dale Carnegie or Jocko Willink. Those are the only people that I hear go in that direction. Everybody else that I listen to, they don't even cover it. You know what I'm saying? They're like, don't even bother dealing with this whole situation because a lot of times they're passive aggressive. One thing I found is that most people are like this. Most people avoid confrontation whenever they can, and I find that to be a horrible, horrible problem with especially when it comes to self-help. When you can be that person that always comes to other people's like, hey man, we don't have to like each other. I understand. Kobe and Shaq, we don't have to like each other. We don't, but we have to play together. So let's work this thing out so that we can have an amicable relationship. And I've done that before with people, and I'm like, listen, brother, I understand you're just not going to like me. You're not going to like me because I like this football team or because your ex-girlfriend flirts with me or whatever. You're just not going to like me. I get it. But we have to work together. And if you have a problem, let's talk about this with each other first, and then we can go on and do other things and work it out. Generally, those people become your friends. Or at least come to your side because they come to the realization like, I might not like everything that this guy stands for, but I know I can trust him because he can have direct communication with me instead of being passive aggressive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like a lot of people nowadays, like it's just like everyone like beats around the bush and they just don't, you know, as you just said, like they don't ever want to get into like a difficult conversation with anybody, right? And there's a great book on this called like Crucial Conversations.
Yes.
I'm sure you've read it.
Mm-hmm.
And like, yeah, it talks about like, you know, just making things like win-win, you know, just like talking about like, you know, addressing the problem, like showing respect, showing mutual understanding, empathy, all this other stuff. And like, you know, and I bet like, you know, nobody does this in their day-to-day life. And, you know, as you said, you know, this is why we have so many problems, you know, with other people. Like most people have like drama or whatever, you know, I'm sure you hate drama. I fucking hate it. You know, like nowadays it's like, if you're just honest and upfront with everything, it's just like, honestly, life is just so much easier.
Initially it's not. Late down the road, you're right. It's definitely much easier. But initially, it is not easy being honest all the time. So a lot of people will be like, hey, man, I'm drama free. And then other people will be like, I have high level of integrity. You realize those aren't always the same people, right? The guy who's drama free, he's like literally knows that his homeboy is getting cheated on by his girlfriend. But he's like, but I'm drama free, so I'm going to stay out of this shit. It's like, No, you should probably tell your homeboy what's going on. You know what I'm saying? No, but that is an issue, is like the level of like honesty. Man, it would be easy if everyone was like that, but it's difficult because a lot of people are afraid to have these crucial conversations, like you said. And then in that book, the whole thing is about giving people a way out, right? Or win-win situations, which is great because the book is written from the premise. Listen to this. The book is written from the premise that you're being non-passive aggressive, but they are. Because most people are. That's the problem. Most people, like when everything is good, everybody wants to talk about everything. But when things are bad, they're just talking shit about each other behind their back. Bro, drama is the worst. It is one of the worst things. So what I teach my clients is circles, the idea of circles. Do you remember this? Did I ever talk to you about circles?
I'm not too familiar.
Circle one is people that I admire and respect and would tell anything to. Anything. Like they know where the bodies are buried. These are people that I trust with my life. That's circle one. Circle two are people that I just don't know enough well to be in circle one, but I trust them because I have. In some cases, I have to. This might be my lawyer or something like that. I have to trust them. Okay. Circle three are people that I'm neutral about. I just don't know that much about them. And like, to be honest with you, most of the people, like say in the nightlife community here in Las Vegas, I just don't know you well enough to trust you with like deep, intimate secrets, but I think you're cool. So we can hang out every once in a while. That's circle three. Circle three is the biggest circle. That's where the most people are. Circle four are people that I have to deal with, but I don't trust them. These are people that I may be aware that they have some sort of personality disorder or they're a pathological liar or whatever, but they work in my business or they're the door guy at a club that I'm going to or they're friends of the girl I'm dating or something like that. That's circle four. And circle five are people I just avoid like the plague. And that's what I found is like I know which circle each person is in. Do you understand what I'm saying? In my mind, I know which circle this person is. If it's just a door guy that I know at a nightclub or if it's just a guy that I met who wants to sponsor one of my events and I don't know him to trust him, he starts off in three. If he keeps sponsoring my events or if he shows me after a while he wants to come and support my charity event, he can move to circle two. Circle one's hard to get into. Circle one's really hard to get into. But most people start off in circle three. And then if it's somebody it's like over and over again, I just keep hearing this dude talk shit to every single girl I talk to or he keeps talking shit to my clients or whatever, then he goes to circle four. Right? And like, but what that does is it avoids the bitterness that people have. Oh, I got cheated on by my girlfriend, therefore all women are bad. Oh, I got ripped off by my business partner, therefore all business people are bad. That's what happens. That's where the circles, that's what the usefulness of the circles are for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, I mean, another thing with, just like with the concept that we talked about like open communication, like not being passive aggressive is, to relate it like to business. Cause like, I mean, a lot of the people listening to this are like, in business, entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs, or people who are looking to get into business. It's so important. Like, especially like when you have a team and you have to communicate to your team and like if someone on your team is not doing well, you have to be that person and be like, hey, this isn't working.
Right. Because whose fault is it when the team doesn't fail?
It's always on you.
It's always your fault. Exactly. Yeah. Again, the only person that I will say teaches leadership better than me is Jocko Willink. Jocko is the master because Jocko he's a former U.S. military officer, Navy SEAL. And Jocko says that when extreme ownership, I have to own this failure because I'm the leader. There are no bad teams, just bad leaders. Even if that's not true, you have to believe that's true. So for me, it's exactly the same way, man. When I talk to my guys on my sales team, it's like, I need to either communicate with you something better in order for us to close these sales, or I need to do something better in my free calls to get them to you. But I can't blame you for this. You have to tell me how I can help you. And if you always have that attitude, you're going to succeed because Warren Buffett says you need to create a business that an idiot can run because someday an idiot will run it. You know what I'm saying? From the E-Myth Revisited. You have to create, losers have goals, winners have systems, right?
Yes.
That's the same type of situation. What is the system that you create? Well, you can't create the system if you can't have direct communication with people. And the other thing that I found is one of the things that I really got to be wary of, because if you had a situation where a lot of your guys use VAs, right?
Yes.
Okay. Where they can't get the VA, like all the VAs seem to got scooped up in the last 10 years and like they're having troubles training the VAs. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's difficult because one of the problems is what you can't do with the VA is you're going to do this just because I said so. Mm-hmm. If you can explain to the VA why this is going to help, then have the VA take ownership and understand he will make more money when you're more successful, the VA is going to now buy in. Mm-hmm. Because remember, this dude is in another country. He's talking with an accent that's probably not his to try to make you feel more comfortable. And he's doing everything he can and promising anything he can to get the business from you. And so in that situation, what I do, I don't look out for people to look out for me. There's one man, Gavin, bro, this is a huge revelation for me. I do not look to people to look out for me. I look to people to look out for themselves. I trust people to look out for themselves. And so if I create a win-win situation, when they look out for themselves, they're also looking out for me. I am not so arrogant or believe that I am so special that people are just going to look out for me for the fuck of it. They're going to look out for me because it benefits themselves also. I trust people to look out for themselves. Do you understand what I'm saying? So we hire these VAs and we just think, no, I'm going to throw you money. You do everything I fucking tell you. No, that's not how it works. They need to be invested also. They're humans just like you, right? And so when you do that in any kind of relationship, that is how you're going to end up winning. And the only way to do that is by looking at every situation from other people's point of view, which requires empathy, which is why sociopaths don't do too well in this whole situation. But you need some level of empathy in order for you to be able to do that kind of thing. And it's tiring. It's exhausting because people don't always get your dream. They don't see your vision. If they could, then they would just know what to do and you wouldn't be so fucking frustrated when you were talking to them, trying to explain to them what to do. But when you can explain their vision, when you can explain your vision, then they can buy in. And that's what you need, is you need people to be able to buy into what you're doing instead of what I see a lot of people do, which is, no, we're going to do it this way just because I said so. I've had commanders in the military do that, and they lose the unit very quickly when you do that. No, we're going to do these things because here's the reason why. We're not going to do these things just because I said do them. Make sense?
Right. Like it's appealing. It's like they're in like self-interest, right? It's like, it's creating win-wins as we talked about before, right? And like back to the whole the whole VA thing or whatever, like you see a lot of time it's like, oh, like you see a lot of leaders or not just
we'll talk about virtual assistants for those of you.
Yeah, VAs, virtual assistants.
Not aware of what we're talking about. Sorry.
Yeah, virtual assistants. In other countries that you hire for like dollars, an hour.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot.
And you expect subservience.
Yeah.
And you forget that these are people like having to live off that money that you're giving them. And you forget that like in their mind, they think you're going to use the shit out of them and then dump them for another person. That's all of them think that.
Yep.
So if you can get the VA to not believe that, you're going to get better work out of the VA.
Right. Yeah. And like you see a lot of people, like I know a lot of people in like MySpace, especially, they always complain about how every VA is a piece of shit. Every VA steals from them. Every VA does this, and I see this even people who do extremely well, in this space, and they're like, oh, why can't I ever keep a VA? I'm like, you're not communicating effectively with them, like you don't even communicate at all, right? It's like, and I've seen this, I've even had business partners in the past who I worked with, and I just saw so many problems with their infrastructure and systems, especially with their VAs, because they wouldn't ever hop on a call with them, or whatever, or like wouldn't answer their questions. It would take like a week to respond to like their question.
Insane.
And I'm just like, how can you expect?
Bro, how do you not feel incredible anxiety with the idea that someone in your company doesn't know shit? That would freak me out, bro. I would not be able to sleep at night to think that there's a salesperson or a fucking back end person working on my website who did not have clear instructions on what to do. The idea that they could that I could just, oh, you know what, I'll deal with this tomorrow. Fuck that. That's crazy to me, dude. There is no way I could do that. Like for me, it's like, hold on, everybody stop. We need to communicate. I was like, and then once we're done communicating, you need to repeat back to me what I said to you, because communication is always the responsibility of who?
You.
No, communication is always the responsibility of the sender. Communication is always the responsibility of the sender. A lot of people don't like to hear that. They just want, hey, just read my mind. You're a VA. I paid you $5 an hour, motherfucker. Just read my mind, and then you should be able to know everything I'm saying. That is not how this works, man. I'm telling you, you have to communicate. If you've ever been in, again, I don't want to be bigoted in this saying this, but if you've ever been in a relationship with a woman who does not communicate with you and expects you to just understand what she wants, it can be frustrating. And you have to sit them down and be like, hey, listen, I know you think you felt that way and I'm supposed to understand what you said, but you didn't actually say the words. And that's why I always say with every girl that I see, I'm like, you need to say the words. Well, I say this also to my salespeople. I'm like, you need to say the word. I know in your mind, you're like, but you should just know what I'm saying. I understand that, but you've got to say the words. You've got to say. The other rule that I have is you can always ask me how I'm feeling. You can never tell me how I'm feeling. You can always ask me what my goal is. You can never tell me what my goal is. That's another thing that I always try to tell people. Is like, you're always allowed to ask. You're never allowed to tell, because when you tell, you're accusing. It makes sense, and that's not proper communication.
Right. I mean, yeah. Like, I mean, we can start to wrap it up. But pretty much, we both have our respective, mentorship programs.
Yeah.
That, we talk a lot about this stuff. Like, I like to teach, a lot of the things that we just, talked about. You have your own principles and your own guidelines. Yeah, like for me personally, like in the program, like I want to teach people in a way where they're self-sufficient. Like I don't want them to join my mentorship program and then be like, and then after I'm gone, they're fucked. Like they can't do anything without me. Like I want people to be resourceful,
right? And
I want them to teach them the fundamentals of business, right? So that they can go off on their own, become a fucking millionaire on their own without me. And so I don't ever spoon feed people. Like I even like I'm there to help. Right at the end of the day, it's like I say it's like, I say it's 8 weeks. I call every week, but there's some people like I started mentoring, back in like August of last year that I'm like still mentoring now, and then that's like what, like a year, right? It's like, yeah, like I'm not in it for like the money. I'm here to actually like genuinely help people, and like I'm sure you're the same way. Yeah,
I mean the feeling that I get again when I have a client who's like, he tells me about these sales that he's got, and I have one client, he was living with me for a while, and then now he's doing these like live Zoom calls, and it's working for him to create his funnel, and it just makes me so happy when I see that, when I see that they're getting this response out of it. You understand what I'm saying? And here's the thing, while I'm teaching this, a lot of times they're angry with me. They're mad at me, bro, because I'm calling them out. It's like, bro, you said you were going to do this and you didn't do it, right? But they're not used to this. They're not used to paying someone to yell at them. They're not used to this, man. And I'm so happy for them when they actually do go through and execute, and they usually tell me thank you afterwards. You understand what I'm saying? And there's a different way to do it. Obviously, like we said before, you just stay hands off. You make people feel good about themselves, and then you never check on them for their success. But for me, I can't live like that. So the Men of Action program, the one I teach, is there's 4 tenets to it. In the first MOA Advanced is about to come out also. For MOA, it is the first. It's social networking. Then it goes entrepreneurship, then leadership, and then mindset. And then pillar 5 is called finance. But pillar 5 is a bonus pillar. It's not a get rich quick scheme. It's a how do I identify scam scheme, right? So that's it. It's 72 hours long. It takes 13 weeks. It's going to take you a long time to get through it. There's a lot of homework assignments. There's about 16 books you have to get through in order to get through the Men of Action program. MOA Advanced is going to be probably another 70 or 80 hours. It's going to have similar pillars. And it's also, there's discussion that we do every week that's about 3 or 4 hours long, where all the questions get answered in real time. Plus, then you get to ask me questions on our private Tuesday calls with all the other guys that are in Men of Action. And then if the calls get kind of like detailed or personal, we stop the recording. That's a big thing that I like to do. I like to protect people's privacy. But I've been doing this for about a year and a half, and I cannot tell you how rewarding it has been in order to do this. And I get people ask me questions all the time. How do I join? And I don't let them join. What I do is I make them come on the free call. Even if they're ready to join, I make them come on the free call. And I'm like, I want you to hear everything that we're talking about first, and I want you to ask some questions before you're willing to just join this program. Because a lot of people look at my Instagram and they're immediately like, I want that lifestyle. I'll do whatever I got to do to get that lifestyle. And they don't really ask all the questions that they want to ask. You know what I'm saying? So for me, if anybody is interested in the Men of Action program, 100%, you got to hit me up on Instagram. I'm not sending you to a website. I'm going to do this thing a little different. And here's the reason why. One of the action steps that I take is that you cannot ignore social media. You cannot. And I've talked to a lot of people that are like, I don't have an Instagram. Then you don't want to be in this program, because you're going to have a LinkedIn, and you're going to have an Instagram, and you're going to have a Facebook, and you're going to have a Twitter. You are, because those things are free, and they help you with your business, and they help you with your networking. So you don't have an excuse to not have one. So I tell everybody, just find me on Instagram at Michael Sartain. You write me, and then I'm going to put you in a Telegram group, and then you're going to get links to all the free calls. Then you can join the program. But I'm not just going to send you to the program. We're not going to do that. You need to understand, and I need to talk to you also on either the Monday or the Thursday free call, and then we can move on and see if I can help you. Because some of you, I'm not going to be able to help you. Some of you just want to feel good about yourself, and some of you are like so stuck in previous mindsets that I'm never going to be able to get you out, but you're just still a little bit curious. You're still a little bit curious. Like, what is this thing that Michael does where he unifies people? What is this thing Michael does called value arbitrage, where he's the connector, the suggester, or the content creator? What is this thing Michael does called breaking rapport, where he breaks in rapport through status, breaks in rapport through comedy, breaks in rapport through pre-selection? What are these techniques that Michael's doing? Because they clearly work. Irrefutable visual evidence that they work. And what are these rules? What are the 6 guidelines that Michael talks about? Where did he get those from? If you're interested in that, I want you to come on the free call first. I'm not going to just put you in the program, and then we'll see if you want to join the program. But then again, the way to get a hold of me is at Michael Sartain on Instagram. You can also at Michael Sartain on Twitter, or at Michael Sartain on Facebook. It's all the same, and I will put you in the group, and then we can go ahead and start and see if this is actually what it is that you want to do.
Yeah, and of course, you guys know me. I mean, I'm the host of this podcast, and you guys have been listening to me for a while. But if you guys are interested in joining my mentorship Amazon program, hit me up on Instagram as well. Just send me a DM and I'll send you a link, to my application, and then we can hop on a call and just see if it's the right fit or not. At the end of the day, I don't take on everybody, and I always like to set the expectation that pretty much this is not a get rich quick scheme. We're creating a real business.
You got to work, man. It's 40, 50 hours a week. I was talking to those dudes. They were working their ass off.
Yep. The ones who make it are the ones who actually put in the work. And I can tell you that the only way that this will not work is if you don't put in the work, right? It's one of the simplest business models you'll ever do. If you just want to make an extra 10, 20K a month, that's, you can do that. I don't like to set any unrealistic goals, but you can do that in less than a year of doing this, especially as long as you have at least, 5K capital, you can easily do that as long as you put in the work and not put in 1 hour a week or something like that. But yeah, you can hit me up, hit up Michael, the mentorship program.
Dude, what I love about this is that you're going to hit me up and I'm going to respond to you. You know how many times I'm like, is this an autoresponder? Mm-hmm. And I literally make a video and I'm like, no, motherfucker. And I even write, I'll be like, look how creepy this is. And I'm sending random video messages on my Instagram. If you write me and you say, is this really Michael Sartain? I will write you back. And look, you'll just see me sitting there with my cats. I'll be like, yes, motherfucker, this is me. And yes, I am actually responding to you because I love that. That's why I like sending people to my Instagram as opposed to a website. I want to talk to you first. I want to see what it is that you're about. I want you to be able to express yourself. And like I said, rule number 4, social media is fake, and I'm okay with that. So it's okay. But because social media is fake and you're okay with that, you got to have social media. Mm-hmm. There's no way you're going to be able to pull this. Now, in your situation, it's a little different. But in my situation, there's no way for you to become a great salesperson, a great networker, someone who's looking for great sponsors for your events, someone who's looking to become a great employee, or someone who's looking to become an incredible, person who throws events. There's no way for you to do that if you don't have social media. So that's why I require that.
Yeah, 100%. At the end of the day, you don't need social media. Well, actually, you do need social media, but it's even for me, I don't need social media, right? But I've created a great social media, presence, and I've invested a lot of money into my social media. I've hired social media companies.
Yes.
I've invested in programs like yours to help with my social media. I've put out a lot of money, to make everything look better.
If you guys get a chance and you're on here, watch this. I want you to go to Gav's IG. But one of the things I want you to do is I want you to consider somebody else, some other guy you've seen their IG, and then I want you to look at Gav's and ask yourself, are you more or less likely to trust him because of what he's showing? He's showing affluence, he's showing access to scarce resources and great composition in his photography. And then the same thing with me. If you were an event planner or you're trying to learn to become an event planner or a networker or something in that area, then go look at my Instagram and then ask yourself, is my Instagram making it more or less likely for you to trust me? And the reason, in both cases, the answer is obviously going to be yes, but the reason why is because of irrefutable visual evidence that we show, and Gav can show you, and I'm going to show you. That's my whole point. I'm going to show you how to. Here's the problem with here's the thing with Instagram. And then we can get off here. Mm-hmm. For those of you who don't have an Instagram, I'm trying to explain this to you. When you meet somebody, just imagine you're an injury attorney, and you're like, hey man, I heard you got in a car accident. Come to my office. We come to your office, and there's no roof on the office. There's no walls on the office. There's no chair. You're sitting on the floor. You're sitting on concrete. There's no desk. I'm just sitting in a chair, and I'm looking at you down on the floor, sitting on concrete, and there's one wall behind me, and there's no other walls, and there's no door. Your office is not complete. That's what it looks like when you're a dude and you go up to somebody with no Instagram. You look like you have no fucking office. Your office needs to be complete. This is one of the first things that we talk about in the Men of Action program. I don't need you to have 1 million followers, but I need your social media to be congruent with who you are as a person, and I need your social media to not hurt you as a business person. And that's one of the things we have to go through. And if you actually understood how fucking incredibly important that is, you would never. It's almost like going up trying to talk to girls with bad breath. That's what it's like when you don't have an Instagram. It's like going up talking to girls and your breath just stinks like terrible. That's what it's like when you don't have an Instagram. So that's why it's important that I want you guys to reach out to me on Instagram so we can work on that. Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
Sounds good. Okay, this wraps up the episode of the Gem Podcast. Take it easy, guys. Thank you for listening, and hit us up on Instagram. Take it easy, guys. Peace.
This is the Gem Podcast, and this is Gav Kwok.